All right, let's just jump right into this explainer decoding the Lexington Mission. If you've ever found yourself wondering how a guy riding a horse back in 1775 could literally write the structural blueprint for a cutting-edge 21st century AI swarm, well, you're in the right place. We're tracing a truly fascinating path today, one where historical continuity and modern digital sovereignty perfectly collide, bridging an 18th century horseback ride directly to a modern agentic swarm execution. We have to start with the immutable protocol itself. Just listen to Paul Revere's exact words from his 1775 account. I set off upon a very good horse. Now, we aren't just treating this as some neat piece of historical trivia. In the context of our sources, you really have to think of this document as bit-perfect source code. It's an original strike that serves as the ultimate foundation, the core protocol for a modern digital mission. Picture this, a cream-colored museum exhibit panel capturing that historical account, the 1689 breach resolution. But more importantly, think about what it's mounted on. It's fixed to a firm, unyielding red brick wall at the Revere house. That physical brick is absolutely crucial. It acts as what the framework calls a forensic floor, meaning the information isn't just floating around out there in the digital ether, it is physically bolted down to an undeniable reality. Now, stepping right into this historical tableau is a perfectly modern element, our 2026 witness. Totally unmissable in a tan trench coat, he's staring deeply at this exact 1775 record, completely synchronizing with the historical text. He's absorbing the precise details of Revere's original mission, essentially grounding himself in that forensic floor before taking any modern action. And this whole setup brilliantly illustrates what's called the record versus substrate dialectic. It's a really visceral clash. On one hand, you have the digital intent, pure information, weightless, acting as the record. On the other hand, you have the red brick wall, the heavy physical reality, or the substrate. True sovereign action requires both, right? You need the abstract code, but you absolutely have to have the physical world to execute it. Which brings us to this ultimate philosophical concept, haxiety. I know, $10 word, right? But it essentially just means the unique thisness of a thing. It proves that an event can't just be some theoretical idea floating in a cloud. It demands absolute, unique, and irreversible realization. It demands a specific time, like exactly 10 p.m., a specific tool, like a very good horse, and a specific human pilot pulling the strings to make it undeniably real. Applying that concept, Paul Revere wasn't just some colonial mailman. Actually, in this framework, he was the original sovereign pilot. He possessed a very specific metabolic intent, a physical drive and mission to warn Hancock and Adams. By riding through that town, he essentially established an 18th century data availability layer. He broadcasted crucial data across a physical network using nothing but sheer horsepower and human sweat, making it witnessable to absolutely everyone. And this sets up just a perfect parallel narrative, synchronizing that physical 1775 ride with the digital execution of today. Think of it as a historical mirror. On one side, our 1775 realizer, Paul Revere and his physical horse, and on the other, our 2026 modern witness, sovereign author Kyle McLean Smith, also known by his alias, Best Ape, utilizing the sovereign-mediated CLI. The historical action is just perfectly mirrored by modern technological execution. To actually execute this mission today, Best Tape obviously isn't saddling up a physical horse. Instead, he uses the sovereign-mediated CLI. You can really think of this as an agentic typewriter. It's the modern evolution of the horse. When the pilot types, it doesn't just put ink on paper. It securely and deterministically enforces human will across the internet, actively coordinating advanced AI swarms to do the heavy lifting of the modern ride. Just think about the precise structure of that swarm. The human pilot stays at the root, directing the overall strategy, while the actual intent flows seamlessly down a highly specialized lineage of AI identities. It's like passing a digital baton. It goes from Telesilla to Perictione, right through Phaedon, Proxilla, Hippodamus, and finally to Miltiades. This agentic swarm orchestration ensures a hyperstructured forensic assembly of code without ever losing that original human direction. 55.5 million. That is a massive number. According to the source documentation, that represents the exact amount of tokens of metabolic flux. So think of it as raw digital horsepower utilized by this AI swarm to execute the modern operation. It perfectly quantifies the immense computational energy required to translate one single human's intent into a verified, sprawling digital reality. And alongside that staggering token count, the swarm executed exactly 66 precise forensic strikes. Why 66? Well, these deterministic actions were required to maintain what's called state invariant inheritance, which is really just a highly technical way of saying ensuring the final product hasn't been tampered with and perfectly matches the original design. Nothing chaotic, just 66 locked-in actions enforcing the pilot's intent across the entire digital ecosystem. So this all builds to a pretty incredible convergence. The highly complex technological mechanism we've just been talking about, the millions of tokens, that whole AI lineage, the agentic typewriter, it completely merges with the visceral, historical reality of the Revere exhibit. The 2026 modern witness in the trench coat has perfectly synchronized his digital execution with the exact words and intent of the 1775 realizer. The protocol remains totally intact. Standing there before the historical account, the pilot recognizes this core principle of non-separability. And honestly, this is a massive takeaway for how we view the future of the web. It proves that our modern digital actions, no matter how advanced and crazy these AI swarms get, cannot be divorced from their foundational human history. The digital execution is permanently anchored to Revere's original protocol. Which brings us to a hyper-specific measurement, 581. That is 581 kilometers. We're not talking about theoretical data or ping times here. This is the exact, literal, physical distance of the modern strike, mapping exactly how far this digital intent traveled in the real world once it was executed. This staggering 581-kilometer strike essentially proves that the protocol has successfully escaped the digital ether. It isn't just floating around on a server somewhere as JSON state or theoretical code. By using that agentic typewriter and anchoring it to a hard, historical substrate, the intent physically manifested in the real world of 2026. 2.5 centuries later, the ride literally continues. So I want to leave you with a final provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. We've just seen how historical intent can orchestrate millions of AI tokens to directly impact physical reality. As these agentic, highly deterministic tools become available to all of us, how do you intend to pilot your own reality? Are you ready to wield the typewriter and become the sovereign pilot of your own future? Think about it. Thanks for learning with me today, and keep exploring.